If you skip this practice, you essentially block your flow, even if you do everything else right. My name is Peter Abundant, aka Dr. Abundant, PhD and ordained minister of Metaphysical Sciences, which is the study of spirituality. I am also the author of The Enlightened Shadow and Spiritual Not Religious, both available on Amazon and Audible. So many people affirm, they visualize, but still struggle. And really, they struggle with consistency. And consistency is actually the key toward true manifestation, or tapping into that ability to consciously materialize and manifest the things that you want. Now, anything that you want to do, you hear it. Consistency is key. Consistency, consistency, consistency. But many of us still struggle with consistency. And it's because we're not making sure that the things that we understand that we have to do, we're not making sure that they are sustainable. We're not making sure that they are actually doable for the person who is actually charting the path, right? That is actually paving the way for themselves to create that which they desire. Or we have those situations where you just go in hard, 100%, give it all you got. You're enthusiastic, you're excited, and eventually you burn out, you get tired because you're not seeing the results that you wish you want to see. And that's really because you're not taking into account things like time, right? Now, though time is a man-made construct in terms of how we use it with the clock and how we use it in terms of communicating with one another and identifying, okay, we're going to meet at this time to discuss this and that. It's functional within society. Now, we have to acknowledge that on the spiritual level, time really doesn't exist, right? Consciousness acknowledges that anything that you want, anything that you desire, anything that you've experienced or will experience is happening simultaneously, right? When we get into quantum mechanics, you understand that. But yet, it's a little confusing because you have to go to work at 9 o'clock, right? Got to pick up the kids at 3. Time basically rules everything that we do in this physical world. And so it becomes very difficult to recognize and understand. So when we have to acknowledge time, we have to acknowledge that there is a framework by which, even though we are infinite beings, that we have to respect in this physical plane, right? Things take time. When we plant a seed in the ground, it takes time to gestate and grow. Manifestation takes time to gestate and grow. The consistency is the ability to recognize that your desire is already there, but in this physical realm, it is a little bit delayed, and we have to respect that delay. And so consistency is basically recognizing, like, say, for example, I mentioned the seed. The seed, the earth, there's an intelligence that knows exactly what it needs and how long generally it needs to grow. Okay. And due to evidence and our experiences with agriculture and gardening and things of that nature, we can tell you, okay, this seed to grow this, it takes usually this amount of time. Now, when it comes to the manifestation of what you want, that's different because you really don't know yet because you haven't materialized it yet. So you don't know what the gestation period is, right? Now, you can have a general idea based on what other people are doing, but the reality is they are different. They're on a different journey. They have, different skill sets. They're tapped in and dialed in differently than you are. And so you really can't compare how and when they materialize something versus when you do it. And that's also a tricky thing because we often look at each other, which is good to a certain extent because you want to see that if they can do it, most certainly you can do it. You want to acknowledge that they are a reflection of you. So if they are manifesting and materializing what they want in big ways, that shows you, that is the evidence, one of the evidences that you can as well. So you must acknowledge that when it comes to the creation of what you want, you must take into account how you can create an environment where it is consistent for you to provide the nutrients for the seed, right? When to water the seed, the kind of environment the seed is in, right? The sunlight, the temperature, right? Even positive vibes, right? We know that if you have a plant in your apartment or anywhere, it's likely to thrive in a positive environment. And so you have to cultivate that positive environment for that seed, AKA your desire, to materialize. So just simply affirming, just simply visualizing is not enough. You have to incorporate patience. You have to incorporate recognizing that doing something on a regular basis, right? At a consistent pattern, ritual, you know, time is extremely imperative. So when you recognize that if you are struggling with consistency, basically you just simply have to, one, always have a reminder as to what it is that you need to do. Secondly, and this is probably the most important part, is to say to yourself, okay, what can I do consistently on an everyday basis that basically won't affect me? That's not work. That's not hard to do. And let's just do that every single day. And it'll feel like you're not doing anything at all, but you actually are. Don't equate your actions with the materialization of the thing, right? Actions are very important, don't get me wrong. But you have to understand that this is not about the do. This is more about the being. This is more about the frequency you're putting out, the frequency that you're emitting. And so by doing something consistently, even if it is something small, you are changing your frequency, because that means the more you are doing that thing, which means if it's minor, small, obviously you can do that every single day, right? Maybe for the rest of your life, or of course, until you materialize that which you desire. But ultimately, you are creating a pattern for yourself, a beat, a rhythm for yourself, AKA a frequency that you are emitting into the universe that is, it will be beginning to shift your mind, shift how you think about things, shift how you feel about yourself, right? Shift even your central nervous system, your brain. And so you have to recognize the importance of consistency, even though the thing that you're consistent in seems almost insignificant. But it's not about the thing itself. It's about the consistency, because the consistency itself is the frequency, you see? So it's about, ultimately, we're talking about creating a habit, right? Create a habit. So, I like to kind of focus on my morning routines, my morning rituals. Like, what do I do in the morning? Because the morning is the most important part of the day, really. You're waking up, right? Your subconscious mind is pliable, right? It is very receptive to whatever it is you're thinking about, whatever it is whatever it is that you want, whatever your intention is. So it's important that you don't just jump on a screen and look at your phone, right? It's very important that you set the intention. Okay, what am I doing today? Right? What is my intention for today? What am I creating today? What is the important aspects of the priorities that I have to implement today, especially those that are geared toward your inner growth, your spiritual wellness, your purpose, your manifestation of the things that you desire, right? So you have to take like maybe 1 or 3 minutes to, every morning, to align your energy intentionally, like to be very intentional with your energy, because your energy is the grounding, is the foundation of your routine for the rest of the day. It is setting the tone for the rest of the day. So be mindful when you wake up in the morning. Of course, breathe, right? You do that. You're consistent with that. And then guess what? You're consistent with it because it is effortless. Imagine if breathing took effort and work. The population would be barely anything, right? But it is effortless. So just like breathing, you want everything else to be effortless, to be something that you can just simply do on a consistent basis, even though it may seem like it's nothing, but is in fact the consistency that is everything. So when you wake up in the morning, breathe, be still, meaning you just take time and don't allow yourself to get caught up in whatever's on the to-do list, whatever things you have to do, whatever stresses that are about, you just kind of be still and just breathe. The breathing really separates you from the illusion of the physical world. It allows you to really recognize and connect with consciousness and connect with your body as well. Then after you have come to a place of stillness, I want you to just say one phrase. And that phrase is, now I create from abundance. Now I create from abundance. It's a good thing to do as soon as you wake up, right? You can compare it to prayer, right? You can compare it to having your own mantra, okay? When you make that statement, immediately when you wake up, that is going to set a tone for your day. It's not something that is difficult. It's not something that's going to take a lot of effort. And I don't want you to think, because it doesn't take effort, that it isn't effective, that it isn't powerful, right? It is extremely powerful. The most simplistic things is basically, the things that we really use often in spirituality. And the key is, when it comes to spirituality, simplicity is the most profound and most powerful. This day and age, a lot of times we make things way too complicated, even our spiritual practice. We layer it and layer it and layer it. And really, the more layers we add to it, the further along we get to the true purpose of spirituality, the true purpose of the journey. You see, you think you're getting closer to the quote unquote finish line of spirituality, but you actually are just going in circles, right? You're actually just going in zigzags, right? So be mindful about making sure that the things that you're doing are simple for you. Simple, so that way you can be consistent. It is a consistency that's going to get you there. Why this works is because, one, your subconscious mind runs strongest, right? Especially in the morning. So when you do this in the morning, then it's going to really get things going. At night is a good time as well, but you're still processing all the things that you went through during the day. So at night, it's a good idea, especially if you have a ritual or a practice of meditation and clearing your energy, chakra word, shadow word, things of that nature. But in the morning, definitely the best time. It only takes, again, 1 to 3 minutes. Say that statement, say that and affirm that to yourself, and then continuously think about that throughout your day. Starting your day aligned sets your spiritual GPS for everything else. So it'll set the tone for the rest of your day. Whenever I wake up and I start to really think about, my intention, I come to stillness and I come to a place of recognizing who I am as a divine being, as consciousness. Then it sets the groundwork for a reality where everything is shifting and moving based on and after my lead, you see? And that's what's important for you to recognize, that all these things that's happening around you is happening from you. It's happening because of you, especially when you think about how you perceive these things as happening. It may be much to think that it's happening because of you, but it's definitely easier to think that how you respond to the things that's happening around you is most certainly up to you. And if you set the intention and the tone for responding in a way that is empowering, that is graceful, that is from love, then of course it will start to, ripple throughout the rest of your day. And so you'll start to actually feel like your days are getting better and better and better. Just don't get in the habit of feeling like, oh, you know what, everything is good. So this morning, I don't have to say my, affirmation. I don't have to visualize. I don't have to breathe and be still, right? Make that just who you are. And that's the key. That's the key with consistency. If you want to materialize something, you don't just say, you know what, I'm starting to see the results of this thing. I'm chilling, right? It's almost like how people, can have relationships with their God and when it comes to religion, particularly Christians, right? And I used to be a Christian, so I can speak to that, where they get down and they pray, and they pray for a thing, and they behave and do all these things. They create this negotiation between themselves and God. God, if I do this, I need this. Then when that thing materializes, because really they're just tapping into the God within them, but they see it outside of themselves. But that's a whole nother story, right? And their belief is what creates it. And so they get the results that they want, and then they just stop following through with the agreement that they made with God. The same thing happens for those of us who are on a spiritual journey, right? We are doing all the practices. We're doing all the things. Then when we start feeling great, we start connecting, we start materializing, we start attracting, then we get lazy, you see? So you have to recognize that this is not about simply doing things until. This is doing things forever, essentially. So be mindful about that, be mindful that this is about really, if you are going to stop doing something, it is because you are replacing it with another ritual, another routine, another practice. Okay. You're going to just simply focus on elevating yourself. Because if your frequency elevates to a higher level, then it's fine to say, okay, I need a practice, or I would like a practice that also is elevated. You see, everything should elevate. Your frequency is elevating. That means you're attracting the things that you wanted, desired. Now, of course, you're going to desire more things because that's the path of creators. That's who we are. We're a creator. You don't just get to your one desire and then everything else stops. No, you get to your desire, and it may seem like if I just get this one thing, my life would be happy. It seems like that, and that is a purpose. Like that's how the mind works. But once you get that thing, then you're going to need to desire to create something else as well. And so then that is going to elevate you to another space of recognizing, okay, I want to take it a step further. How can I do this even better, even quicker, And then that will require you to elevate yourself more, and by, incorporating other things, So a common mistake that people make is when it comes to manifestation, they think positive, right? But they never really feel aligned, And the key is presence, not pressure. So remember that as well when it comes to your materialization of your desires. It's about presence, being in the moment, being within yourself, being still, being intentional. Don't worry about trying to be perfect. Don't worry about how fast you can make it happen. I get it. Fast speed is important. Yes. But don't be attached to these things, because then it's going to pull you away from the presence of the now, from the presence of being you, your authentic self. Okay. So simply wrapping this up in 3 steps: breathe, right? Visualize, and be. So being is the action of it. Being is the embodiment of the thing that you desire, meaning you must embody the kind of person, right? The mindset of the person who has that thing. Visualize is really coming with the stillness, right? Stillness, recognizing your divinity within you, and then just also recognizing that which you desire. And then, okay, you follow it up with being the thing that you need to be in order to attract it, in order to create it. You see? So what I ask you to do in the comment section below, I want you to write, I align today. I align today. And that will begin to set in motion. You see how simple that statement is? I align today. Very simple statement. Align with what? Align with your inner peace. Align with your desire. Align with who you know yourself to be. Very simple statement, but highly profound and highly powerful. Just make it something that is consistent, something that is sustainable. When you do that, then you actually begin to actually meet the frequency of your desire. And it's that simple. Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, get access to this free ebook, The Power Within, and so much more. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.